yeah, I felt a sense of euphoria having that food. And so I thought, you know, there's no doubt in my mind, there was no doubt in my mind at that point that I should be eating meat.
John, how did you find carnivore?
Right. So I found carnivore in 2019, actually. Um, and essentially, I tried to go carnivore initially from a vegan diet, and it didn't work out. I'll be honest. I couldn't get the carnivore diet to work, and um, yeah, tried again in 2021. Still couldn't get it to work, and now 2023. Here we are. It's been about a month, and yeah, it's working pretty well. Like it's exactly what I hoped it would be. So, I mean, I can go into the reasons and the whole backstory, but yeah, that's
Y-
essentially the brief version.
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear the backstory.
So the backstory is I had a YouTube channel. Started in 2012, and I called it Vegan Health Fitness. And obviously, it's a vegan channel, and I thought, the reason I went vegan was because I thought it was healthy. And, to some people, I think that is a logical step whereby all the authorities and all the studies coming out, they all said, meat is bad. Look at this correlation study, right? And, yeah, meat causes cancer, dairy causes diabetes, all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, well, if we don't need to eat um, animal foods, then why do so at all? So that was my logic. And I thought, well, I'll just supplement the rest if I need to. So yeah, anyway, I did the vegan YouTube for six years roughly. Um, and I would say over time, I just started to notice my body deteriorate. And then, I decided to investigate essentially. I gave myself 45 days. I have no idea why, but I thought 45 days to just try meat and see what happens. Um, and it didn't even take those 45 days. I had the first food I ate was tuna, canned tuna. So nothing really, I don't know why I chose that food, but I chose canned food. Maybe it was the inoffensive nature of it. Well, in my mind, it was. And yeah, I felt a sense of euphoria having that food. And so I thought, you know, th- there's no doubt in my mind. There was no doubt in my mind at that point that I should be eating meat because my body would not give me that feeling if it wasn't something that was very important to my body. So with that, I didn't need to do 45 days. I knew there and then it was the right thing to do. And then I would say for about a week or two, it was almost like my energy was just completely different, absolutely completely different. And so yeah, that was moving into eating animal foods. And then that was 2019. 2019, I uh, essentially, yeah, started eating meat, and I tried to do carnivore. And the first time I tried to do carnivore, I got heart palpitations, and just low energy, and there was just something wrong. There was something wrong. I would cramp, and to be honest, I know obviously carnivores. This is a carnivore podcast, but it maybe don't want to hear it. But I swear, I almost ended up in hospital. Like it was that bad that I think it was my blood sugars or something. I didn't end up going to hospital, so I actually never knew what had actually caused it. But I was just eating, meat and eggs and whatever, but it just, yeah, I fell flat on my face essentially. Not literally, but yeah, I had to get down on the ground and just lay there on the ground because I was so, um yeah, like I felt like I needed to go to hospital. My heart was, beating very hard in my chest. And, so yeah, then I had to quit that, and I just, had a regular, meat, dairy, and vegetables, and all that kind of stuff, normal diet. Um, and then yeah, 2021, because I always knew that the carnivore thing, it made sense. It was the best option, especially for inflammation and all of that. But and weight loss, like even the weight loss that I experienced during those first, 2 weeks, even though I was low energy, was just, crazy, and my skin was clearing up already, and I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Um, yeah, so 2021, tried it again. This time I had cucumbers to kind of, I thought it was an electrolyte issue. So I had cucumbers, maybe like three of them, and I would just peel the outer parts of it. And that actually worked. So that did, that did work. I don't exactly know. I think it was the electrolytes, or maybe it was maybe slight the amount of carbs in it. I'm not too sure this to this day. Um, but that kind of got me through. I did a couple of months of carnivore like that. So just having 3 cucumbers, which, I would call carnivore pretty much. Um, but then I thought, this is not like it still didn't feel right. I still occasionally had the heart palpitations, and I was just, yeah, really concerned about it. It didn't feel right. I did not feel right. So, um, I know this sounds like almost like a anti-carnivore thing, but I'll get to the point. So, yeah, fast forward to 2023, tried it again because, to be honest, my skin was getting worse. So, um, I have a history of really bad acne. You can probably see, like, there's one on this side here, still there, and there's, a little bit of a scar there left over. That's because it was really bad back in the day. Not that one on the nose, but certainly the one there, and there's some scarring there. Um, so yeah, I had really bad acne, but that started, funnily enough, when I was vegan. That didn't occur. All the acne disappeared, so that was interesting. But as soon as I started incorporating meat and carbs, or and vegetables, that's when it went really downhill. Like I tried over those few years, from 2019 to 2023, to reduce it, but really I was fighting an uphill battle. It just felt like there was just more and more, every few months, every few, each year. Um, so I thought, yeah, I got to try carnivore again, 2023, and I got to figure out why I'm having those heart palpitation issues. And I think if you search that, heart palpitation or electrolyte issues or whatever for carnivore, it's actually a very big concern. And um, I kind of, well, I do understand why. And for most people, it's not such a big issue. Like, they can maybe, um, wait it out in a way, and just, have some small amount of electrolytes, and it kind of just resolves itself, and it's not a big deal. But there's definitely, and I've heard Bart K, and if anyone doesn't know who Bart K is, he's a, carnivore. He's a nutritionist, down in New Zealand, and he used to be a lecturer in nutrition, and he actually coaches people in carnivore, and he actually said that 10% of his patients, um, can't go full carnivore. They actually have to incorporate carbohydrates because they just cannot get around this issue. And and I think I was one of those, and I just could not figure it out. I even had it back in, I think it was a year or so ago. I actually had a consultation with Bart K, and I asked him. I said, what can I what can I do for this? And he asked, are you taking electrolytes? Have you tried Redmond's real salt, which is, obviously what most of the carnivores talk about. They're always talking about just add more sodium, just have this electrolyte powder. And to me, like that wasn't a good enough answer because that wasn't working. It and to be honest, yeah, Bart K cannot think of the answer because he said 10% of his patients have to eat carbs, which means he hasn't figured out what it is. Um, and at the same time, I think there actually is a solution. It's just we haven't figured it out yet. And that's what I kind of want to get to with the carnivore thing. I think we really have to figure out exactly what do humans need and for carnivore, what are the um, problems and what are the solutions to each of these situations, because it's very I think a lot of people quit. I think they start and they quit either because of the transition period, or or they literally can't do it. In my case, they feel like their heart's going to beat out of their chest, and it's just like you're going to end up in hospital. That's definitely not acceptable. Um, and to be honest, if you were, I'm young and healthy, right? Somewhat, right? And then if you imagine if you had someone who was older who had issues, but then had that same heart issue, it could be the end of you trying carnivore. And it's like, so we need to actually get these things right. Um, and I would actually say, for I mean, definitely work with someone who's, who knows a lot about the subject, has coached people in carnivore. Definitely, um, I would be I would be hesitant if you run into an issue. If you run into issues, I would be very hesitant to continue trying to do it yourself. That being said, I did obviously try to do a lot of things myself and try to figure out exactly what it is. And so I actually met Dave at the low carb conference this year in Sydney, and we talked about. I said, "Oh, well, I've kind of figured out a little bit of a solution to the heart palpitation issue, the electrolyte issue." And I said, "Oh, it's probably," I said, "it might be taurine." And I think so there's some interesting research that shows that taurine actually, when you're hypernatremic or you're kind of low sodium, or your electrolytes are not in balance, then actually taurine will um, place itself within the cell, such that it maintains electrolyte balance, sorry, not electrolyte balance, fluid balance for that cell. Um, so yeah, basically when you're dehydrated, it helps you. Um, the thing is, I think there was still an underlying issue, and I think that it was actually magnesium. Um, because what I've done this week, because I was starting to get, even though I was having the taurine, it felt better. But even I would say after, this 4th week, those heart palpitations were starting to come back, and I was like, "I can't, why are they coming back? Why is there this issue?" And, I thought, there's gotta be something else. It's something, a lot of the, your Bart K's, your, um, what's his face? All the carnivores, right? All the carnivore experts, they're all saying, this is a species appropriate diet, and you know what? I do believe that. I do believe that we're meat eaters, but it's like, um, I think there's issues coming off other diets that onto your specific diet, onto your species specific diet. that yeah need to be addressed. And so I think the issue for me with the magnesium was the carbohydrates seem to mask a magnesium deficiency or like a um, so I would have carbohydrates to kind of get rid of the issue. That's how I would get rid of the issue, and that's how Bart K would get rid of the issue. And um, yeah, that's not really a solution, and that's not really. You shouldn't have to eat carbohydrates. You really, I just don't think anyone should have to eat carbohydrates. It's not a thing. Um, so we just haven't figured out what it is that we need to be doing exactly. So yeah, with that, I thought, and I can't remember my reasoning, to be honest, but I thought I'll go with magnesium. I read about magnesium. And so magnesium actually helps your body maintain potassium, which is interesting. And I was having, oh, that's right, I was having potassium supplements. So, like what do you call it? Healthy salt. Per 100 grams is 28 grams of potassium and about 15 grams of sodium, and the rest is chloride, right? Um, so I was having that, and that kind of made things better in the last couple of weeks. But I thought, like, I'm going to the toilet a lot. Like, I'm not retaining any of these salts. Um, and so it's interesting. I then tried magnesium, and yeah, then I read into it at the same time, and I just saw, yeah, that magnesium helps you retain potassium. And I thought that's got to be it. That's got to be something I have to try. And a lot of people are magnesium deficient. And I'm not saying by their blood levels, but by their tissue levels, because it's everywhere in your tissues. It's in your muscles. 30% of it's in your muscles. You know, I think 50% of it's in your bone, but that's to maintain your blood levels. Um, and um, Yeah, I think a lot of people are magnesium deficient, and so I tried a magnesium bath the first time because I looked into research and said, can you actually get magnesium through your skin? Sometimes the
Sometimes.
magnesium supplements cause you diarrhea, or they just don't absorb very well. So I thought, oh, well, I'll do a skin version. So I just had like a run a bath, have that for put in the salts, and so I hadn't had an oral supplement at that point. But after that, I actually felt so much better. Like it was insane. I thought, okay, I've actually solved my issue, right? My issue was magnesium. And then you know what? That's a relatively common um, supplement that people consume on a carnivore diet. So I'll definitely take that. But I don't think there's enough like emphasis on ratios and how much of it you need. Do some people need more for because they've come off a magnesium deficient diet? Like I was saying, most people are magnesium deficient. Like they actually do not get enough and have never got enough. Um, so yeah, I felt much better after that. I just the heart palpitation. There's nothing there. It just feels normal, like I was before. And oh yeah, I'll be honest. I couldn't even do a low carb diet. There were points. It was getting to the point even before I did carnivore. I wanted to just do low carb because I wanted to fix up my skin. It was getting worse. I thought, yeah, I'll just do low carb because don't need the carbs. But I couldn't do that. I was starting getting the heart palpitations even at low carbs. So even then, there was an issue that I hadn't resolved, and yeah, I definitely think the carbs mask those issues. So actually, when you or and they either mask it, or when you do go low carb, your body loses water, so it just kind of unveils itself. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment, and yeah, it's going very well, and obviously, um, there's been a lot of benefits so far. My skin has cleared up quite a lot. There was, quite a bit of acne, and it would all come up. Now it's just old, kind of some red dots that haven't disappeared yet, but it's only been a month and a bit, so I'm expecting all that to just disappear, and of course the weight loss. Like, I wasn't too concerned about weight loss. It's not the biggest deal for me, but certainly, the fat distribution is better now. I think I've lost it from the midsection, while kind of maintaining it where it should be. Especially, when I used to do the vegan diet, I used to get quite lean around the arms to the point that it was just too lean, but I would still maintain the fat around the waist. And that always struck me as just, it's not right. Like, your body shouldn't be like that. And it shouldn't have skin conditions. It should be perfect. Yeah, really, your skin, there's no reason for it to have, like, that kind of stuff, or, blemishes, dots. I just don't think that that's natural, and if you have those things, then it's gotta be a diet that's and,
Yeah.
that's not all the time, but, 90% of the time, it's diet.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you extrapolate that to other species and you think you don't have cats, dogs running around going, "Oh, I've got my skin's really bad this morning," or something like that, it's because they're eating a species appropriate diet generally. Well, maybe dogs, not so much anymore, but Um,
100%. Yeah, like,
yeah.
you feed your cat the wrong thing, and it'll start deteriorating. Like, the cat food that we feed, now has carbohydrates and all kinds of stuff, and they are, you maybe in some far distant world, you can argue that humans, eat carbohydrates and whatever, but, imagine arguing that a cat should eat carbohydrates. That is actually crazy. That's insane to me.
So just to go back to your previous experience doing a vegan diet, you said your body was deteriorating.
Mm.
Um, was that just to do with the blemishes and the acne, or was there other things you were experiencing?
There was other things, yeah. So, one of the major things, I used to work out a lot, and, for one, it was hard to maintain muscle mass, I will say that, although I didn't know that at the time, so that wasn't really. I always thought, "Ah, yeah, you'll make a little bit less muscle mass, doing vegan," but it was something I was, willing to live with. Um, but it got to the point where I couldn't do deadlifts because my shins were so sensitive. Like, they were just super, super sensitive. And I was like, this is not, it's not normal. Well, once again, it's not something. I I'm very much someone who, I believe, and I said it before, that humans shouldn't really have too much wrong going on at any one time, um, especially when you're 30 years old. It's just not. Even when you're older, really, there shouldn't be too much going on, and so I thought, even these little things, like, and you could say that it's not little, but to me, it's not too crazy. Um, but yeah, just constant infections as well, getting sick very often. Like, I used to not get sick much, maybe once every 4 years, or something like that, and I've heard many people in your show say, maybe you could just attribute that to age, but that's really, I don't believe that at all, and especially seeing a lot of a lot of carnivores now with their success stories, and I know it's anecdotes, but um, just seeing the results that they've had, yeah, there's just no doubt in my mind that those things can be resolved. And so, yeah, I would say, like I said, the skin wasn't. Um, it kind of got better, but it was never really that great on vegan. It just didn't have I just didn't have an acne. So yeah, I will say with the vegan thing, I always had very dry skin, very dry lips. Um, yeah, so getting sick. I mean, obviously, muscle mass was, I think, um, yeah, definitely not as much as it should have been. Because I used to do sprinting, and the other guys, they ate meat and they were definitely bigger. And you could say that that's maybe genetics, but looking back at that, I think it was definitely a dietary thing, not vegan. Yeah, not eating meat. So
So, this is quite a change. I guess, did you have, I get a kind of a friend group that was made up mostly of vegans, or for you, because it was just health, was it just like, well, this is just the diet I'm doing, and I'm not sure how it was. Could you talk about
did I
that?
have
And
any
did anything change?
encouragement or anything like that?
Yeah.
um, no. So are you, so you're asking if I did people support me in what I did, and did I have kind of people that were on the same page as me, and that's how I did this?
Yeah.
Or
And then maybe, when you decided, well, I'm changing my diet, were they supportive or
ah,
otherwise? Yeah.
well, yeah, I think a lot of the people in carnivore, they're very not stubborn, but very strong-willed. And so I'm a very strong-willed kind of person. So I'm willing to, and socially, I'm willing to go out there and just do whatever I need to do, or whatever needs to be done. So with vegan, I mean, I did that overnight. And yeah, my friends and family didn't agree with it. Definitely not, especially back in 2012. It wasn't such a big thing. And then, yeah, 2019, eating meat again. As soon as I started eating meat, I just started trashing on vegans. Like it was, you know, click of the switch. I just changed, because I know it's like ripping a band-aid off. You just need to do it straight away. You're no longer vegan. You no longer believe in that. You're obviously eating meat. You just need to get over it. And uh, uh, yeah, 2019, I just went full carnivore from vegan, because why not, go all the way. So yeah, and then definitely I caught a lot of flack from that as well, because obviously, I told friends and family that vegan foods are healthy, and plant foods, fiber, all that, all the whole shebang. And now I was telling them, that's unhealthy. Eat meat, and only eat meat. And yeah, that was way too much for most people. Um, so
See,
yeah,
your family's probably got whiplash, because it's like, hang on, first you were telling us it was lettuce only, and now it's steak only. What's going on?
100% they have, 100%. And I think you know what it does? It destroys your reputation, or their trust level for you, because yeah, when you're flip flopping, it's and this is even before 2012. So in 2009, no, 2010, and I was doing a Bachelor of Commerce at the time. Really love nutrition, even at that point. And so I actually was gonna do the keto. No, I did do the keto diet back in 2010. And I was reading up about Peter Attia. So if you've ever heard of, some people may have heard of Peter Attia on this podcast. Yeah, I was reading his stuff about cholesterol and how cholesterol's not the culprit, and he was talking about I don't know if it was fractionated cholesterol, but he was talking about ApoB and all this other stuff, ApoA, and to be honest, I didn't really understand it at the time. And you know what? Still don't really understand it at this point. He's well above my pay grade in that regard. But he yeah, he influenced me to go keto, and he was doing like these self experiments where he was testing his cycling ability. So he would do like a 200K ride, and he record all his stats, eating fat as opposed to carbohydrates, and he would report the improvements, to be honest, mainly improvements. And yeah, so even back then, even in 2010, I knew that it was it was good. It was a good way of eating. But unfortunately, I don't know. I just found another way of eating and ran with that. And I will say that it's somewhat. I don't think it's, and I'm not just saying because me, but I don't think it's stupid to go vegan based on, especially like a whole foods plant based low fat diet, because I think that does have some benefit. Like if you're comparing that to a standard diet or even a healthy kind of standard diet, I think it does have some benefits. And I think it's mainly due to the fact that while you have the carbohydrates, you're having very low fat, so it doesn't interfere with the you know absorption and utilization of those carbohydrates. And there was definitely some studies where they ameliorated diabetes and not so much heart disease. I can't, I don't really believe that, although I did see some stuff on that. But certainly diabetes, treating diabetes with a high carb diet, which is you know probably unheard of in the carnivore community. But yeah, so there's something to be said of I think combining carbohydrates with fat that really screws up your system. And that's why I actually liked Bart Kay's work, because he talked about the fact that fat and carbohydrates would cause big issues in your body. And so yeah, that's I think that's why I knew that it had to be either one. It had to be either really high carbohydrate or really low carbohydrate. And the difference between the high carb thing and the low carb thing, I think a diet is um, you're going to get all the nutrition with the carnivore diet. With the vegan diet, you may not get diabetes, right? You may not get diabetes if you're going high carb, low fat. I've experienced it. It doesn't. I don't think it causes diabetes at all. But certainly over time, your body isn't getting the right nutrition. Like you just cannot get all the different nutrients from a vegan diet. And I think uh, there's a channel on YouTube. It's his name's Sverige Gardis, and he's a bit extreme. Yeah, I will admit he's a bit extreme. Eats raw meat and all that. Not that I'm against raw meat, but he's he's a bit out there. And he made videos about ex-vegans, and he would talk about what they're missing from their diet, and they're missing 15 nutrients. And I always think to myself, that's rarely talked about in the vegan community. And that's just 15 nutrients that we've identified, or that he's identified that are to him quite obvious, and to us quite obvious. And then something like, vitamin A you can't get from plants. A lot of people think vitamin A you can get from plants, but it's actually beta carotene, which your body has to convert, and the conversion can sometimes be less than 1%. And then you got vitamin D. Obviously, vitamin D you can't get from plants. Maybe you get it from fungi, but it'll be in a supplement. Um, you got creatine, you got carnitine, you got heme iron, uh, choline. This is a ridiculous amount of nutrients that are just missing from plants. And you know what? This is not the fault of the I don't it's not the fault of the consumer. It's not even the fault of um, the authorities these days, because I just don't think they know what we need. Ultimately, they say these things are conditionally essential or whatever. For instance, creatine. Um, they say, oh, you don't need creatine because your body makes it. There's endogenous production, but does it make enough? And what ramifications does that have? And another good example is choline. So choline wasn't even um, uh, made an essential nutrient. I think this is in the Australian guidelines. Wasn't even made an essential nutrient until 2018. So this is how little we know about nutrition. We know very, very little, and um, and it goes to show because the last 100 years, especially, we've been eating the wrong diet by like a mile. We're way off. We're not even in the ballpark.
Hang on, what are
Um,
you saying about cornflakes?
yeah, I used to eat. Oh, when I was a teenager, um, I used to have Nutri-Grain, which is just a cereal, but it's got a lot of sugar, and it's got all these added vitamins and it's got a lot of gluten, and yeah, it's got fake iron in it. Yeah, it's just shitty stuff. And I used to have that before school, and I would just feel terrible. I couldn't even do my classes. This is why I was into nutrition so much, because during my teenage years I had so much acne. Um, to be honest, my dad did say to me it's the food, and I didn't believe him. But he knew because that's how he fixed his, which is funny. So he did the same thing. Um, not with a carnivore diet, but he did do kind of similar things. He kind of did a natural diet. He just did everything natural, like have fish and nuts and like just whatever he thought was natural. Um, yeah, and I thought I was a dumb person because I thought I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't do my schoolwork. Um, and I had such poor sleep to the point where, yeah, just getting up every morning was just super difficult. And you can imagine as a teenager, you should have a lot of energy when you're a teenager, but I just had zero energy. And that's a lot of my interest in nutrition, yeah, was definitely built up through my teenage years, or at least the beginning of it. Um, because yeah, if you run into issues, that's where your interest um, you know comes from. Attention is generated from problems. So yeah, that's why I got involved.
Yeah, I think yeah, in that regard, we've been very much misdirected, though. Um, I think we grow up thinking, oh, if I'm feeling bad, that's probably related to I'm just not exercising enough or something like that. And it's I don't know if it's intentional misdirection or it's just you know people not really understanding, but we're misdirected to look at the wrong things rather than going back to the basics of diet.
But I think it's not I don't think it's malevolence, it's benevolence, because I honestly think that people they're not out to get you necessarily. Most of the time, they're not out to get you. They might be out there to make money, but I don't think they're out there to get you. They just want to use you, let's say. So, yeah, these food companies, what do they want to do? They just want a lot of money, and so the best way to generate money is to essentially sell things that you can make a lot of profits from, and you can make a lot of profit. You make way more profit from processed foods than you can from regenerative farmed beef. Like it's just so labor intensive, and yeah, you're not going to get the return that you're after if you want billions and billions of dollars. So yeah, I definitely, and I think what's happened is people have um, because we've been in agriculture for so long, you know, for let's say 10,000 years, right? Um, that's all we know. That's so it's not really, you know, are they being evil or is that just we're not that smart? We're just that's just humans in general. Like we've done that. We've gone along with it. We decided to have the crops. We decided that that was a good idea, and then along comes some more technology, and we start making hyper palatable foods. I mean, it's not really, you know, a big leap of faith to say that it's probably benevolence rather than malevolence. It's
Mm.
not born out of trying to crush someone with bad health. It's just like, yeah, they're just trying to make money. You could say that money, make purely making money at the expense of other people is you're a bad person if you do that. But yeah,
But
depends what you value.
it's a more indirect path, right?
Yeah,
It's not directly to malevolence. It's not.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah. I agree with that train of thought, definitely. So, at this point, what is your day-to-day eating like?
So at the moment, I'm having, well, for instance, today I had 500 grams of kangaroo, and that's very lean. But then I had some bone marrow, bone marrow, because I love the taste of it. So I had, yeah, just half of the like a bone about that long. Just took all the marrow out of that and ate that, and then I'll have the other half tonight. So I don't know how much fat that is. I don't. I used to track calories. I don't really. I don't track calories anymore. I don't think it's that important. Your body will tell you exactly what you need. It's not. Yeah, tracking calories is. It's actually a little bit laughable these days to think that like every single species does not track calories. They just eat and they maintain. Like if you look at a bunch of animals, you know, wildebeests or whatever from a documentary, and you just look at them. They're all the same weight. They're all the same look. Like there's no variability. There's a little bit of variability, but there's not much. Um, so yeah, I don't track calories. I don't think that's relatively. I don't think that's necessary. Um, so yeah, add that, and then I'll probably have some more kangaroo tonight with the bone marrow, and then the some eggs. Probably have like maybe 6 eggs.
So, John, you've got a YouTube channel. Could you talk a little bit about your channel?
Right. So that was it used to be called Vegan Health Fitness. Now I've called it the one food, and of course that one food is meat. And I don't know if I'll keep that. We'll see. We'll see how we go. But I'm going to start posting some videos. And I think one of the first ones I'd like to do is I'd like to um, address Paul Saladino. And you know, I know that's a little bit controversial. I know he's kind of like on our side in a way, but at the same time, I think what he does is a little bit destructive because he's so popular in that scene, in the animal-based scene, and he's still telling people to eat carbohydrates, and like I was saying before at the start of the interview, I don't think it's necessary. I just don't think he's figured out what he needs to do to make it work for him. And you'd think, oh, because it's a species appropriate diet, why should he have to um, think about what he has to eat? It's because you're coming off an unnatural diet. So your body has to adjust. I'm sure I won't even need this magnesium supplement after, let's say, 6 months, because it does actually take up to about 6 months to repopulate all the magnesium in your tissues, in a severe situation, that is. But let's say 6 months, right? So you actually need to give these things time. So yeah, I want to kind of address Paul Saladino. I know he had pretty much exactly the same issues as me with the diet, with the electrolytes, cramping, heart palpitations. Um, so yeah, definitely. I'll make a video about that. Um, but yeah, I think I'll be posting some videos talking about the carnivore diet in general, and I'll be looking to focus on the younger side of carnivore, because obviously there's a lot of people in carnivore who do who come to this diet because of their heart disease, diabetes, and all that kind of stuff. And I do I understand that. I understand that's why most people come. Because to be honest, I would have a hard time convincing um, younger people that's like, oh, why would they do it? But I would say one thing that younger people care about is skin and body weight. And they are definitely issues. And when I say body weight, I mean fat mass. They are definitely issues these days that young people care about, and I don't think they should be. And mental clarity, I would say, mental clarity is another. So those three things. So young people want mental clarity, they want skin issues to disappear, and they want their weight loss. They want to be just a nice um, lean toned body, and they can just do whatever. They don't have to worry about food and whatever. I think a lot of people could benefit from that. Yeah, it doesn't have to get to the stage where you're 50, 60 years old and you just had a heart attack and you survived it, or you had your gallbladder out and this and that. Like, it's something serious that's occurred, and it's like, oh shit. Like, there are other reasons why people would do it when you're younger. It may not be the to avoid pain, but it certainly is to, let's say, attract a mate. Yeah, that's why they will want their skin to be good, their weight to be good. And I think in a very competitive world that we're in, mental clarity is important. Like, if you can't think at work and just out and about, it's tough. Like, the life's already tough enough. You don't want to be making it harder on yourself by giving your body just the wrong diet. So yeah, that's what I want to focus on the
Nice.
mm,
Well, I'll link to your channel in the description. And
thank you.
John, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you sharing your journey with us.
Thank you very much.